Sometimes I think about how crazy of a world we live in and the conflicting messages we often receive. It feels like we give people eggs, ask them to make an omelet, but then tell them not to break any of the shells. Throughout our lives, we've been fed messages like cash is king, a penny saved is a penny earned, you should always save money, and even phrases like cream, cash rules everything around me, cream get the money, dollar dollar bill y'all. Okay, that has to be a record for the earliest I've hit you with a dad joke. If you didn't get it, just Google Wu-Tang and the song Cream. Then we get older and we hear legendary investors say things like savers lose or keeping cash during high inflationary times is a bad idea. And even the great Warren Buffett warned in February of this year that people should not hoard or hold cash during war times as stocks are safer than cash. But less than 10 days later, he announces that Berkshire Hathaway is holding $144 billion in cash out of their over $700 billion in assets. Huh? Excuse me? And as you look around and listen to people, you start to see that big time and big money investors are holding cash and metals. Just a few weeks back, I ran across a story where they highlighted the concerns from investors have ramped up and cash holdings are now at a 2-year high, while people have also been pushing money into commodities. So let me see if I have this right. Central banks all over the world have spent the last decade or so gobbling up gold to the point that in 2021, they reached a 31-year high, and they are more than 15% higher than a decade ago. The legendary Warren Buffett is holding 20% of his company's assets in cash. Institutional major investors are holding more cash than ever before, and people like Rick Rule, and many of you know how he is one of my favorite people to follow, has discussed in several interviews the importance of holding cash right now. Now, I ain't the smartest man in the world, Lord knows, but I am smart enough to pay attention to what smart money is doing. So let's spend the next few minutes discussing why smart money is holding so much cash, commodities, and especially precious metals, and most importantly, what this may mean for us as physical holders of metals, and how I'm going to use this information to prepare myself. After all, at that same Berkshire Hathaway meeting, Buffett also said, quote, "We want Berkshire Hathaway to be in a position to operate if the economy stops." And that can always happen. Well, in that case, I definitely think we should be talking about it. All right, folks, allow me to take 1 minute to share a number of exciting updates. One, I want to apologize for not sticking to my normal schedule last week with 3 videos, but things have been hectic and super busy in a great way. Regardless, it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat to step 2. All right, the first person to give me the name and the artist of that song will receive a Stackers University mug. Because I'm so fired up, I'm also going to send something out to the first person, it has to be someone different, that can tell me the name of the original rap song and artist. Let's go. Second, I've heard your request to see and download how I use my purchasing log, so I will make sure we do that video sometime this week, so hold tight for me. Third, and most exciting, I received a number of emails asking about how I got the gold bar at Spot Deal and how you could get it as well. So I reached out to the dealer and they have agreed to give anyone who is a subscriber and referred by our channel the same deal to purchase a gold bar at Spot. So I will be announcing that on Tuesday's video. Make sure you watch. Just so you know, you will have to be subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, I suggest you hit that button today. 4, if you missed it, we recently hit 900 subscribers. I just want to thank you all for all the love and the support, the feedback and encouragement. Y'all give me real energy to keep going and push through all the late nights and to get these videos out to you. In fact, as we speak, it's 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. I'm trying to get this video out to you today. And 5, please head over to Silver Forever and be on the lookout for a video he's doing on up and coming YouTube channels, as he will be highlighting our channel and our community. So kudos to you for being so active and so supportive that we got his attention. Also, if you missed it, we also received shout outs from Investing with TJ channel and the Silver Stacking podcast hosted by TJ and Silver Slayer. Everyone knows Silver Slayer. All of these shout outs are based on love for what we are doing as a community, as a channel, and not because we're doing some crazy sub for sub thing. So I want to encourage you to check those channels out. And when you're over there, I want you to make sure you let them know that you're there to represent Stackers University. Let's get back to stacking. You all know how I feel about predictions. We ignore the predictions, instead we focus on the conditions. So what we're going to do now is largely an exercise in deduction. I'm doing this because I want you to see how I take in information and draw conclusions and use it to make sure I am positioned the way I want. Now, we all aren't going to deduce the same thing, and that's almost not as important to me. What is important is that you start to train your brain to take in information, sift out the noise, let the neurons fire away, and draw some likely conclusions to help your investing. This is exactly how we stack smarter and why we must never stop learning. So what do we know? Central banks have been showing us that they are the OG gold and silver stackers and have been doing so for the last decade in virtual silence. Just another reminder of a lesson we've discussed here. Radio station KYMS, keep your mouth shut. The banks have done that incredibly well. Even before we weaponized the dollar, countries have been de-dollarizing, and it's only gotten worse. We've got global inflation, supply chain issues, various investment bubbles, rising interest rates, even though we know the Fed will eventually capitulate on them and return back to easing, warnings of recessions, concerns about stagflation, and now all of a sudden we've got Buffett talking about the economy stopping, and now the big money people are talking about holding lots of cash. Of all the things we know and I've heard over the last few years, the recent comments about holding cash has really gotten my attention, especially as a stacker. I often think of my metals as extra cash with a little volatility because of price fluctuations. But over the last few months, that has changed, and I started to really focus on not just my metals, but cash. And when I say cash, I mean cash on hand and in hand. But frankly, Buffett's comment about the economy stopping has only strengthened my resolve, my belief, and my commitment. But I'll let some of Rick Rule's recent words do the real explaining here. When markets don't have liquidity, markets fall, and they fall irrationally. If you as an investor don't have liquidity, you get taken advantage of by this circumstance. You panic and get forced to sell. If you have liquidity and you have psychological courage, you take advantage of the situation. You need to decide for yourself whether you're going to be a profiteer or going to be a victim. So I understand that in my cash holdings, I'm losing 4 to 5% a year in purchasing power. But I think the circumstance might come about in the next 2 or 3 years where the consequence of having cash is 50, 60, or 100% returns on capital by deploying that cash. Rick Rule also made couple important statements about gold. He said, if you have a circumstance where fiat goes to hell in a handbasket, the upside you get in your gold and silver means that a small insurance policy premium, which is to say a small holding in physical gold and silver, offsets a very large deterioration in the purchasing power of your fiat currency. So with all this cash sitting on the sidelines, I have 3 main deductive takeaways as it relates to metals. The first one is time. All this leads me to believe that we still have some time with metals, as the fear factor element of the economy hasn't reached high enough for big money and institutional investors to officially flow into metals. As the saying goes, gold is a fear trade and silver is more of a greed trade. Number 2, historic mean. Rick Rule often discusses that only 0.5% own precious metals at this time, and the historic average is about 1.5%. So with all that cash sitting on the sidelines waiting to be deployed, once it actually moves into metals, there will be a splash, and not really just any old splash. It will hit like a cannonball. Number 3, positioning for the cannonball effect. Remember as kids when someone did a cannonball in the pool? Once this cash either seeks the security of metals after whatever shake up or shake out occurs, they won't be yelling cannonball. There won't be a warning, but everyone in the pool will instantly know, and there won't be time to prepare. First, gold will take off, followed by silver, and like in the swimming pool, if you're not prepared, you're going to get splashed. So we need to be preparing our positions for that moment. Remember what I shared from John Wooden. Be quick, but don't hurry. Be quick about getting positioned, but you don't need to hurry. As I've watched gold and silver behave erratically recently for no good reason, while the dollar keeps climbing for no good reason, and all the other indicators, along with investors like Warren Buffett and Rick Rule and institutional investors holding the rapidly deflating dollar in the form of cash and not only metals, all of this makes my internal dashboard lights start flashing yellow. And it makes me wonder and ask, what am I missing? What are they seeing that I don't? What do they know that I don't? With that, I'm going to suggest that we pause for a moment and think about our current financial position. While we want to hold as much physical gold and silver as possible, and we should, but we also need to ask ourselves some really tough questions. Do I really have enough liquidity, particularly in the form of cash for whatever may be or is coming? I'm not saying that it's all going to crash down, but is it possible that we see a sharp pullback like we did at the start of that medical event? Is it possible that the Fed over tightens before dropping rates again, and that creates an incredible buying opportunity? Is it possible that when the stock market corrects and in that short-term movement, it drags gold and silver down, offering us a 30 to 50% discount for a short period of time? Some other questions. Do you have the liquidity to overcome a personal crisis or emergency that would protect you from having to cash in your metals? I mean, how heartbreaking would it be to have held for this long and then be forced to sell because of a crisis, only to watch metals take off in the aftermath? So here are my top 5 reasons why I am immediately increasing my liquidity, particularly in the form of cash. And it's important to note that I will not be keeping this cash in the bank. I just hope it doesn't fall into the bottom of a lake like all my metals did last week. Shucks. Anyway, I want it outside the bank because in a liquidity crisis, who is to say that banks won't temporarily freeze all accounts to prevent a free fall situation or to limit how much money you could take out per day as they have done in other countries? Before I give you my list, if you've learned anything or if this video has added any value in any way, please hit that thumbs up button to let me and everyone else know that we're doing something special here at Stackers University. Also, if the content is helping you as an investor, go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Back to my top 5 lists. My first one, carpe diem, meaning the liquidity will give us opportunities to seize the day and make deep value purchases if prices decline. The second one, stability and reduction in volatility. Yes, depreciating cash is actually better in a crisis because it will help prevent you from becoming emotional or acting irrationally. Remember, they want us to capitulate. They want us to sell so they can buy everything we have as a discount. So keep that cash. 3, emergencies. And I want to use the example Robert Kiyosaki gives around the difference between a dairy farmer and a cattle rancher. He talks about dairy farmers raise cattle and then they continually milk the cattle and make money, while the rancher raises cattle only to have it slaughtered. And then they have to start the process over again. In a crisis, you don't want to be in a position where you have to slaughter your cattle. Extra cash helps prevent that. Number 4, catastrophic emergency insurance. Yes, your cash is losing purchasing power. I need you to view that like your car insurance payment. You pay that every month and you still hope that you don't have to use it. If something does happen, you will be relieved that you have it. That cash may prove to be something of the same thing, your insurance policy for your economic situation. And number 5, you'll sleep better. I've had money and I've not had money. And let me tell you, you sleep a heck of a lot better when you have some money. You sleep better before, during, and after a crisis when you have that money stored away. So let's get all the sleep we can. As a writer for one of the research articles I read wrote, quote, cash on hand bails you out of emergency. It protects you from taking out debt with aggressive terms or pulling money from your investments when the timing isn't right. There is a cost to holding cash, and that cost rises when inflation is high. But in return, you, like Buffett and Munger, can sleep soundly because you know your financial position is strong. Quick comment shout out goes to James W. from our last video. And I wish I had more time. This video is already a little bit too long, but James and I had a wonderful exchange back and forth about the commemorative coins. And what I really love about it is that we disagreed and we continue to discuss. And while I won't speak for James, I walked away with some things that will help me be clear with you all. So shout out to you, James. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for continuing to engage. I wish I had more time to really break it down. But if nothing else, I do want to be clear about the commemorative coins right now with folks. It's important that you do the math and you have to look at the total spread when it comes to your purchasing of a coin and what you're going to get on the back end if you sell it. Sorry, folks, I wish I had more time to expand upon that, but we gotta save that for another video. In the comment section, please share your thoughts about holding cash in this environment. Are you comfortable where you are currently? Are you protected in your cash position? Or do you need to step it up a little bit? Please go ahead and share those comments. Thank you everyone for everything. We appreciate you. And as we always end, always stack smarter and never stop learning.